What's going on, guys? My name is Renegade. Welcome to episode 12 of Class Comparisons, the weekly series where I take your suggestions for classes and compare them for specific purposes. Over the last few weeks, I've gotten quite a few suggestions for Legion Blademaster Assassin versus Blademaster Assassin. So this week we're going to be taking a look at Legion Blademaster Assassin versus Blademaster Assassin for soloing. This should be interesting as neither class is incredibly great for soloing, but at the same time they both have strong farming abilities which can tie into soloing abilities. Before we get into the comparison, it'd be great if you guys could leave any suggestions for next week's episode in the comment section down below. And while you're down there, leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, I have a Discord server you guys can join if you follow the link in the description, so come join my server, you'll be able to chat with me and my other viewers. One more thing before we start the comparison, I'd just like to quickly go over what makes a class good at soloing so you can understand my reasoning in the video. In my opinion, a soloing class must be as efficient as possible. Things that help this is high damage, it's got to be pretty consistent too, sustainable health and mana, and if you have those things in a class, it'll pretty much make it good at soloing. The things that really set apart good soloing classes from bad soloing classes is efficiency, so anything that helps that will pretty much get higher marks in this comparison. Without any further ado, let's get into the comparison. First, let's talk about Legion Blademaster Assassin. Now, I do have a more in-depth video that I'll link in the description, but essentially Legion Blademaster Assassin is a reasonably strong soloer, but you have to take risks to improve its efficiency. Firstly, it deals most of its damage from its first move, Diminished Steel, which can deal up to about 8k crit and as low as 2k crit. And this range is explained from the damage being higher when your health is lower and lower when your health is higher. It can never miss and it always crits. It consumes 12 mana and has a 9-second cooldown. It also has a 50% chance to make your enemy's next hit 0. Your next ability, Reanimation, essentially buffs your dodge and crit chance, but after the buff is finished, you're left with a considerable DOT on yourself for a large amount of time. This can be really dangerous with battles with hard-hitting monsters, and in fact, without this DOT on yourself, you can still find it really difficult to do battle with hard-hitting bosses, so I advise you not to use this ability for many battles. But this is sorry, I completely read the wrong line there. Now, Reanimation also prevents you from being healed from your other sources other than yourself, but this is a soloing comparison, so it doesn't really matter. Your next ability is your Heal, which pretty much deals damage and heals you for a portion of your damage dealt. It usually heals around 400 to 600 health, but it has an 11-second cooldown and consumes 20 mana, so it isn't really good enough in many situations. You can find yourself going down in health quite a bit to deal more damage with your first ability, but then when you want to gain your health back, you really don't gain enough of it back to really make much of a difference. So you're almost like taking 5 steps back to do all that damage, and then you're sort of taking baby steps forward, and then the monster's hitting you, so you're taking baby steps back, so it really gets you into a lot of difficult situations. Your last ability, Dark Mantle, is another damage dealer, but it also applies a DOT and lowers your enemy's critical strike chance. Legion Blademaster Assassin hits hard but takes many risks to do so. As a result, I think Legion Blademaster Assassin is a mixed bag because it can often lose a lot of health and struggle to regain it back. Legion Blademaster Assassin doesn't have mana issues. As for Blademaster Assassin, I also have a in-depth video on Blademaster Assassin that you can check out in the description down below. It is actually quite similar to Legion Blademaster Assassin. Its first ability is pretty much the same, except it can miss, but it is still guaranteed to crit. It still has a 50% chance to make your enemy's next hit 0, but it doesn't deal anywhere near as much damage, and it has a slightly shorter cooldown and consumes slightly more mana. Its second ability is also quite similar. It applies an effect called Do or Die, which increases dodge chance by 30%, critical strike damage by 20%, but increases your damage taken by 20%. This trade-off is actually worth it to me in many situations, as the class is already a pretty strong dodger, and you gain about 50 health back every time you dodge, so the extra dodge chance pretty much means you're getting extra health. However, on stronger bosses that hit harder, the risk really might take more consideration depending on your current health, so you must be careful. The effects also last 18 seconds, so you're stuck with it for a fairly lengthy amount of time, so you must consider that too. It's not really an effect that you can sort of apply and then reap the rewards for a couple of seconds and then apply it again and then reap the rewards. You really have to really think about what's happening, and if you're soloing a monster like the Blood Titan, you really need to think, when's this blood range coming or something like that. The next ability, however, is a simple attack, with an 8-second cooldown and consuming 25 mana. It deals moderate damage and reduces the target's crit chance by 25%. The last ability could be considered Blademaster Assassin's Nuke. It deals high damage in comparison to the rest of the class's damage, of around 700 non-crit and 2k crit. It also applies a DOT of around 400. It consumes 30 mana and has a 15-second cooldown. I think Blademaster Assassin is reasonably strong, but it suffers in fights with high damage dealing bosses as its health regen is slow but consistent. Its damage could be higher too. You often find yourself taking far too long for simple but high health boss fights, as you can see in the background footage. I think I'm using King Cole, unless I've changed it since then. Blademaster Assassin does not have many mana issues.
You can't touch this. You can't touch this. You can't touch this. My music hits me so hard, makes me say, oh my lord.
Now we're going to be talking about the two classes compared. I really do think that they both are very, very similar classes in terms of their strengths and weaknesses. Well, really, they sort of balance out. The strengths and weaknesses themselves really aren't similar, but in terms of Legion Blademaster Assassin, I believe that it's much more strong in terms of its efficiency, which is really sort of giving it the win here, but I really do think it's a close one because Legion Blademaster Assassin has a far weaker heal. But really, it depends on the boss fight. You know, I really think that Blademaster Assassin is better in slightly stronger boss fights because its heal is slightly better. All that dodging it does, it's a dodging based class, but all that dodging it does really does gain you back most of your health that you lose, as long as you are really careful and don't really use that second ability. Legion Blademaster Assassin, however, deals much more damage, but its heal is really quite weak. 11-second cooldown on its heal is really quite a long time to wait for the next amount of health, so I would recommend, if you are using Legion Blademaster Assassin to solo, then you really should just be sort of staying at as high a health level as possible. You know, as soon as you lose that 600 health, regain it back as soon as possible. But they're both fairly strong, actually, for classes that have been talked about as farming classes. So they make kind of good all-round classes. I will talk about, perhaps in the future, them as farming classes, but for now, I'm going to be trying to do some support comparisons. It's really difficult to do support comparisons because it requires me to do, like, with other people, you know, like, talking about which effects are better and such, for, like, talking, like, which classes and stuff, because, like, support classes really have better synergy, like, different synergies. So, for example, Stone Crusher with, I don't know, I really can't think of a synergy off the top of my head, but there are different synergies that work in different ways, so it's really, really difficult to do support comparisons. So it really does take someone who's much better than me at talking about classes to talk about support comparisons. Either way, Legion Blademaster Assassin gets the win here by a very, very small margin. If you did enjoy the video, leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already, leave some feedback down below as well in the comment section on my presentation this time. In terms of my voice, I generally do scripts and stuff, as you could probably tell by one mistake. I think I said I read the wrong line back there, which is a little bit of a giveaway. I'm not trying to hide it or anything, obviously. It's fairly obvious that I'm reading a script, but I have been writing scripts for these class comparisons. I did one last week and I did one this week. I'm really trying to perfect the way I read everything out and say everything in these videos to make them shorter. Obviously, I'm blabbing on now about this, but leave any feedback on that in the comment section down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.